They called him weird, dangerous, maybe even crazy. But the truth is, Malik just wanted peace. The problem was peace was never something the world offered boys like him. A ragged military jacket, scout's eyes, and the silent steps of a lone wolf. No one knew that a former combat trainee who'd walked through fire in the Middle East was now sitting quietly in the corner of a high school cafeteria. Every morning, the gates of Suthridge High in Georgia opened like the jaws of something hungry. Students poured through the iron fence like floodwater, laughing, shouting, earbuds in, varsity jackets slapping backs. It was noise, it was rhythm, it was normal. And then, he walked in. No one knew where he came from. Just a name, Malik Dawson. New kid, transferred mid-semester, a rare thing. But what made people really notice wasn't that Malik was the only new black student this term. It was how he moved. No words, no wasted motion. A worn-out camo jacket draped to his knees, sleeves frayed at the cuffs, heavy combat boots, scuffed and faded. His backpack slung over one shoulder, head held still, not high, not low, just still. His face wasn't angry, wasn't sad, just blank, like stone carved by silence. He walked across the quad like someone who'd walked through a battlefield before, each tile underfoot familiar, but not worth remembering. Eyes followed, whispers started. He's kinda weird. Never talks to anyone. Always dressed like he's in the army. I heard he dropped out for years and just came back. Bet he did time or something. Malik didn't react. He never did. His eyes never rested on anyone. Eyes like that don't scan, they assess. Survivor's eyes. Soldier's eyes. Later that week, the vice principal sighed in a meeting with his homeroom teacher. His file's clean, but I don't know what to expect. Just keep an eye on him. And so, Malik walked into the red brick shell of Suthridge High, blended into the flow of students but never really part of it. A voiceover might have said, asterisk, asterisk. No one knew what Malik had survived. He wasn't looking for a fight. But peace, for people like him, was never something the world gave easily. Asterisk, asterisk. Suthridge High wasn't in the middle of town. It was tucked up north where there were more SUVs than school buses, and the student parking lot gleamed with Mustangs, used BMWs, and the occasional Tesla Model 3. It wasn't a rich kid's school, but it was rich enough for upper-middle-class white families to feel like they ran it. Inside, the social map was unspoken but hardwired. Basketball team, center of the court. Cheerleaders, orbiting close. AP kids, smart but sidelined. And the edge kids, those who didn't belong anywhere. Malik was pushed straight to the edges. Not by words, by looks, by silence, by space that somehow refused to close. With his dark skin, tall but self-contained posture, and a silence that felt intentional, Malik made people uncomfortable. He didn't blend in. He didn't ask to belong. No haze, no eye contact. If someone tried to talk to him, he'd offer a short nod. Nothing more. It took less than 3 days for rumors to start flying. He was in juvie. For real. Bet he's homeless. He's totally hiding a weapon. You can tell he's got PTSD or something. Most of those whispers came from one place. Chase Graham. Chase was everything. Suthridge admired White. Tall, athletic, cocky, in the way only a coach's son or a principal's son could be. In Chase's case, he was the latter. Team captain of varsity basketball. His name embroidered on his school jacket. His smile polished for photos. His ego polished by applause. And when Chase first laid eyes on Malik, he didn't look curious. He looked amused, then disgusted, masked in jock humor. Yo, Private Dawson, you lose your platoon or something? Careful, he might snap. Who knows what's in that backpack? Bet he's killed someone and they relocated him here. Laughter echoed down the hallway. No one told Chase to stop. Because no one ever did. Suthridge never said it was racist. But it didn't have to. It showed it. in the way teachers questioned black students more skeptically, in how the security cameras always seemed to follow Malik a beat longer, in how he was assigned a desk near the trash bin in homeroom. Once, in art class, the teacher leaned toward Malik. "Are you sure this class is for you? We can switch you to tech if it's more comfortable." Malik nodded, didn't speak. Same silence, different weight. Even staff didn't know what to label him. Dangerous, troubled, broken. They couldn't decide. That made them nervous. One Asian girl tried to sit near him during lunch. The next day, a cheerleader made a snide joke. "You should hang with people who actually speak human." She didn't sit there again. Only one adult kept a regular eye on Malik, but not out of care, out of suspicion. Randy, the school's old security guard, had served in the Navy decades ago. He thought he understood the type. "Seen kids like him before," he muttered to the vice principal. "No emotion, no eye contact. Always keeps his hand near the pocket. I don't trust it." The VP shook her head. "He hasn't caused any trouble." "Not yet," Randy replied. "But I don't want to be the guy who finds out too late." Malik ate lunch alone. No phone, no book, no friends. Not because he couldn't speak, but because he knew words didn't change a damn thing. And so the school labeled him off. But he wasn't off. He was waiting, watching, holding something in. And that more than anything made people nervous. At Southridge, Malik Dawson moved like a shadow across the tiled hallways, present, but untouchable. He didn't speak, didn't react, didn't push back. And that silence, it became the sharpest thorn in the sides of people who needed someone to laugh at. Chase Graham was one of them. Not because Malik did anything wrong, but because Malik did nothing at all. "There's something about him," Chase muttered in the locker room one day. "Like what?" "I don't know. Like he's just waiting. Like a bomb with no timer." And that was all it took for the games to begin. At first, it was small things: an accidental bump in the hallway, a crumpled paper tossed to hit his shoulder as he read the bulletin board. Malik didn't react. Ever. "Lost soldier on campus," Trey joked. "Maybe he's hunting Taliban in the cafeteria," Chase added with a smirk. The next day, Samonino One claimed it plastered the school with a meme. It was a grainy photo of Malik sitting alone at lunch, staring into nothing, with bold yellow text. "Veteran dropout. Beat the war. Flunked algebra." Laughter exploded throughout campus. Malik didn't even blink. In a corner of the hallway, a younger black student leaned toward his friend and whispered, "If that was you, could you handle it?" "Handle what?" The way they look at him. Like he's not even there. Like he's a ghost. The injustice didn't just come from kids. It ran deeper into the way teachers perceived Malik. In English class, during group projects, one teacher paused, hesitating. "Malik, if you feel more comfortable working solo, that's okay. It seems like maybe you're not into collaboration?" It sounded like kindness. But underneath it was isolation dressed as concern. In the teacher's lounge, the whispers echoed. "I've got Malik in my third period, not complaining, but something's off. He's got that snap kind of energy. He must have a psych history. No kid's that quiet without reason." Not one of them asked Malik. None of them wanted to know. Randy, the school's security guard, had served in the Navy. Maybe that's why he thought he understood boys like Malik. But he didn't. And worse, he didn't try. One afternoon, Randy spotted Malik sitting quietly out back an area off limits to students. Randy approached, grip tightening on his rubber baton. "This isn't a place to hang out. Move it." Malik looked up, said nothing. "I said it again, and I won't say it a third time. You want an office write-up?" Malik stood, walked away. Randy watched him go, exhaling hard. "Kid says nothing, but it's like he's screaming inside. Makes my skin crawl." And so the rumors thickened. The glances sharpened. Malik never said a word, but the silence around him became suffocating. He was no longer invisible. He was a presence that unsettled people. simply because it never tried to explain itself. Suthridge went to sleep early. But in a third-floor apartment on the east side of town, a single light stayed on. Malik stood at the rust-stained sink, washing his hands. He dried them on a threadbare towel and moved into the living room where a hospital bed sat beneath a flickering lamp. In it lay his grandmother, motionless, eyes half closed, her breathing slow but steady. Malik moved with ritual, precision, propping her up, spooning warm food to her mouth, wiping gently with a soft cloth, then massaging her bony fingers until her eyes closed fully in sleep. No complaints, no emotion, only quiet duty. Later, Malik curled into the old recliner beside her bed. Eyes closed. But his mind didn't rest. Clear left, clear right. Target at 6 o'clock. Stay low. Malik, cover me. He snapped awake, drenched in sweat. Hands clutching his skull, chest heaving. His eyes scanned the shadows, still caught in it. That wasn't a boy in a high school apartment. That was a soldier still trapped on the battlefield. And across his back, hidden beneath the jacket, was a long scarab ghost of violence etched into flesh, invisible to Suthridge but unforgettable to him. He was 17 when he faked papers to enlist. Father, dead when Malik was 10. Mother, gone before that. Only his grandmother remained, and Malik believed, if I can fight well enough, earn enough, I can rebuild something. In the barracks, Malik was the youngest, but he outtrained them all. Hand-to-hand combat, sniper scopes, terrain reading. A drill sergeant once said, that kid wasn't taught to survive. He came wired for it. It's like the war lives inside his blood. Then came the moment everything changed. A live training simulation. Fake ambush. Meant to test instincts. But Malik thought it was real. He reacted on instinct, neutralized the enemy. But one of his fellow trainees hadn't suited up in full gear yet. Malik injured him. Bad. And just like that, it all flipped. Overreaction. Can't distinguish real from fake. Shows signs of instability. They suspended him. Stripped his rank. Filed a psych report. No one asked why Malik reacted that way. No one understood he wasn't trying to hurt anyone. He just didn't want anyone to die. He came home quietly. No medals. No honor. No celebration. Only his grandmother, frailer than before, now completely bedridden. One night, Malik opened an old shoebox. Inside, a faded photo. 3 young men in uniform, smiling, arms around each other. Below it, scribbled in pen, 3-9 Charlie, brothers in fire. He stared for a long time, then folded it back into the box. Closed it gently. He turned off the lamp. Sleep came slow that night, deeper than usual, but no less haunted. Friday afternoon. Suthridge High was nearly empty. Footsteps echoed faintly down the hallways, each one fading like a clock winding down. The tiled floor stretched in long shadows as classroom lights blinked off, doors shutting behind the last few students. In the rear gym, Chase Graham had skipped basketball practice. He sat alone in the locker room, glued to his phone, scrolling through a group chat filled with messages he didn't want to read. They won't let it go. I warned you, Chase. You owe $1,200. They're coming. His throat tightened. The threats didn't feel like jokes anymore. And they weren't. Outside the chain-link fence by the rear courts, 3 figures in hoodies appeared, moving like shadows with purpose. They weren't Suthridge students. One of them pounded the metal exit doorknob to get in, just to make noise. A threat. A countdown. Nearby, Randy, the school's security guard, was doing a final sweep of the equipment shed. He heard the banging and stepped outside. School's closed, fellas. Who are you looking for? We're here for Chase Graham. You know where he is? Randy narrowed his eyes. Nobody's here. Get gone before I call the cops. The middle one laughed and turned to the others. Old man thinks he runs something. Then came the punch, sudden, unprovoked. Randy went down hard. His baton clattered to the concrete. Blood leaked from the corner of his mouth. They didn't hit him out of hatred. They hit him because he stood between them and Chase. Inside the boys' bathroom, Chase had heard everything. The thuds, the shouts, the silence that followed. He locked the stall door, crouched on the toilet, fists clenched, sneakers soaked in sweat. Shit, they really came. The Southridge basketball captain. The principal's son, now trembling in the dark, trying not to breathe too loud. Down the East Hall, Malik had just exited the library. He paused. He heard the noise-running feet, heavy grunts, a cry of pain then nothing. Malik stood still, hand still resting on the strap of his backpack. His face stayed neutral. But his eyes? His eyes changed. They shifted from student to soldier. Asterisk. Once again, the narrator's voice would say, he was standing at the edge of a line he never asked to cross. He didn't want to fight. But he'd been trained to end things. Fast. Clean. Final. Asterisk. Malik walked the east hallway like he did every day. Calm. Silent. Almost invisible. His worn boots whispered softly across the tiled floor. Every step was steady, deliberate as if the world couldn't touch him, let alone hurry him. He set his backpack down beside the wall. Then, without a word, he tightened the frayed strip of cloth around his wrist. A familiar gesture, almost like a ritual. Not panic, not adrenaline, just control. He stepped into the dim corner of the hallway where the noise was coming from. And there he saw it. 3 older teen strangers, not students, not supposed to be here, hovering over Mr. Randith's school's aging security guard, who now lay bruised and bleeding. Blood trickled from his temple. His arm shielded his chest like instinct alone was trying to protect his failing heart. Nothing here, just keys and paperwork. You think this old man's hiding, Chase? I swear, if that little punk doesn't show, this guy's gonna be a lesson. Click. Malik's boot tapped once on the tile. One of them turned around. Who the hell are? He never finished the sentence. Malik moved. In less than a heartbeat, he launched a precise, brutal kick into the speaker's gut, sending the guy crashing backwards into a row of lockers with a violent metallic slam. No yelling, no threats, no wasted movement. Only action. Clean, quiet, clinical. The second one roared and charged. Malik dipped low, pivoted, and caught the guy's wrist mid-swing. He turned his hips, locked the shoulder, twisted, and drove the attacker down hard against the tile. The thud echoed like punctuation. The third froze. His eyes widened. I don't want any trouble, man. Malik didn't speak. He just looked at him. And that look? Cold, sharp, still. The guy backed up then ran. Full sprint, gone. A nearby security camera caught everything. It captured a silent black kid, a boy most had whispered about, laughed at, feared, saving a man who never once believed in him. Malik knelt beside Randy, checked his breathing. His voice, when it came, was low and steady. The first words anyone at school had heard from him in months. You're gonna be okay. I'm calling an ambulance. Just keep breathing. Randy stirred, groggy and in pain. His swollen eyes blinked. He tried to focus. You, Dawson? Malik nodded once, then stood up. From across the hallway, a bathroom door creaked open. Chase Graham stepped out. His face was pale. Sweat clung to his forehead. His legs barely kept him upright. His mouth was slightly open, no words, just breath. He saw Malik. Malik turned to face him. No anger, no pride, no bitterness, just stillness. A silence that wrapped around Chase like a mirror. In that quiet moment, Chase saw it all. He had hidden. Malik had stood up. He had mocked. Malik had defended. And now, he was the one trembling. Malik didn't speak. He didn't have to. That look said everything. You were never the threat. I was never the enemy. You just never looked past the surface. Chase's eyes dropped. He couldn't hold the weight of that gaze. Malik turned. Walked away. No celebration. No grand exit. No need to prove anything. He didn't want to fight. But maybe, for the first time in a long time, he had just saved more than one life. He'd saved his own. The next morning, Southridge woke up to a silent earthquake. Every hallway, every lunch table, every phone screen buzzed with the same thing. A grainy security camera clip spreading like wildfire. That wrist-locked textbook military. That Malik kid dropped 3 guys in like 30 seconds. I used to think he was off. He's not. He's controlled. That wasn't rage. That was discipline. I've never seen someone fight like that. Without hate. #number silent soldier flooded everyone's stories. In the video, the weird, creepy kid stood between violence and vulnerability. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't posture. He just acted. And for the first time, Southridge saw him for what he was. Not a threat, but a protector. Teachers were stunned. The principal was already scrambling, worried the footage had leaked to the press. The vice principal, who once dismissed Malik as distant, cried quietly when the video showed him kneeling beside Mr. Randy, whispering words of comfort. By lunchtime, the same students who had once thrown paper at him now looked down at their trays when he walked past. Sunlight poured through the cracked blinds. Malik stepped into the hospital room carrying Fuji apples, 2 bottles of Ensure, and a battered paperback novel. Mr. Randy blinked, surprised. Well, look who showed up. How's your grandma? Still the same. That's good, that's good. Silence settled. Then, the old man voice, rough, eyes red, spoke what had been weighing heavy on his chest. I have to say this, Malik. I misjudged you. I saw the silence, the distance, the shadows in your eyes, and I thought danger. But you're not dangerous. You're the only one who did the right thing. You didn't just save me. You saved this whole damn school, full of kids who think nothing can ever touch them. His voice cracked. And for the first time in over 20 years of standing guard, Mr. Randy cried. Malik didn't respond with words. He simply reached into his coat pocket, pulled out a neatly folded handkerchief, and offered it gently. Then, just briefly, he squeezed the man's trembling hand. Chase Graham sat alone. His varsity jacket wrinkled, phone screen dimmed. No new messages. No likes. No Monica. Trey had left the group chat. Everyone else? Silent. Footsteps. Someone was there, standing below the bleachers. Malik. He wasn't angry. He wasn't cold. He was just present. Chase stood slowly. I don't know what to say. I was wrong. I was so wrong. Malik looked up at him, calm, clear, unshaking. Then, for the second time anyone at Southridge had heard him speak, I don't fight to be seen. I just don't want anyone else getting hurt. Chase bowed his head, then whispered, I'll tell the truth. Everything. I owe you that. Malik didn't answer, but he gave a slow, quiet nod. And for Chase Graham, that nod was the greatest forgiveness he'd ever received. The next week, things began to shift. Lunchroom table saunts, divided by race, cliques, and hierarchy, were no longer so clearly separated. A small group of girls started a new club, Vets and Voices, dedicated to supporting bullied, silenced, or misunderstood students. In U.S. history, Mr. Langston, who usually skipped over uncomfortable chapters, projected a slide on black soldiers in Vietnam. At the end of class, he paused at the grainy photo from the Southridge security footage. Discipline, service, responsibility. That's what citizenship looks like. Malik never said anything. He still sat in the back corner, same window seat, same simple lunch. But this time he wasn't sitting alone. A few students had begun to join him. Not with noise, not with praise. Just presence. Just quiet. The kind of quiet Malik had always wanted, but never before been allowed to keep. Southridge had changed, but Malik hadn't. Same worn military jacket, buttoned to the top. Same frayed strap backpack. Same seat in the back row, by the window, where light cut across the glass like memory. Malik never asked for applause. He never wanted it. At lunch, he still sat quietly at his usual table, unwrapping the bento box he packed each morning. Red beans, cold cuts, and sweet corn cakes, lovingly prepared by his aging grandmother. But this time, no one laughed behind his back. No one stared from across the room like he didn't belong. Only nods. Quiet, respectful nods. Some of them filled with unspoken gratitude. Across the cafeteria, Chase Graham stood. No fanfare. No words. He walked over and placed a pair of slightly worn white basketball sneakers on Malik's bench. The very ones he'd worn during the state championship game. No bold logos. No note. Just shoes. And silence. Malik looked at them for a moment. A pause. A breath. Then calmly pulled the shoes beneath the bench. He didn't reject them. Didn't make a show of acceptance. It was an apology that needed no words, and forgiveness that asked for none in return. After school, Malik returned home like always. His grandmother sat by the window, the old radio humming a scratchy jazz tune from decades past. He served dinner. Thin porridge, steamed corn, a slice of fried fish. "Was your day all right?" she asked. Her eyes dimmed with age, but still fixed gently on his face. He nodded. Just a small smile. The next morning, he arrived at school earlier than usual. No one noticed, until a younger student's skin darker, glasses slightly too big, voice barely audible walked up to him in the hallway. "Hey, Malik." The boy paused, nervous. Malik turned to him. "Could you, teach me something? Like how you walk around like you're not scared?" It was a clumsy question, but it wasn't small. Malik looked at the boy. A long silence. Then he nodded. No speeches, no life lessons, just rolled up his sleeves, motioned for the boy to follow. They stepped out to the backcourt. Each movement was steady. Not to teach fighting, but to teach balance. How to stand straight. How to move without flinching. From afar, a few students paused to watch. No laughter. No whispers. Up on the second-floor walkway, Chase leaned against the window frame, arms crossed. He wasn't the center of attention anymore. And for the first time, he didn't mind. Southridge High kept spinning, but something in its rhythm had shifted. It had learned a lesson, not from a teacher, but from someone who had spent most of the year in silence.